Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden systems that giant companies use to navigate a world that's just full of threats. We're talking about their playbook for dodging disaster.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. To really get a handle on this, we first have to understand why managing risk is so essential. And to do that, we actually need to zoom out a bit, way beyond the boardroom.
You know, the incredible Brazilian author Guimarães once wrote, "Living is very dangerous." And it's such a powerful idea, right? It suggests that risk isn't something you can just sidestep. It is a basic, fundamental part of being alive.
And look, if that's true for us, just as individuals, can you even imagine the level of complexity for a massive organization? I mean, businesses are facing this constant storm of uncertainty every single day. Things like market shifts, new competitors, internal mistakes, it never stops.
And this is exactly where corporate risk management comes into the picture. The goal isn't to try and get rid of all risk. I mean, that's just impossible. Instead, it's about having a structured, intelligent system for dealing with all that uncertainty. It's what allows a company to not just survive, but to actually find ways to thrive in a pretty dangerous world.
Now, trying to manage risk is obviously not some brand new idea, but the formal playbook that companies use today, well, it wasn't just dreamt up in some quiet conference room. No, it was forged in the fire of some of the biggest corporate crises in modern history.
What's so fascinating when you look at this timeline is that you can see how almost every single one of these major steps was a direct reaction to a disaster. You've got the COSO framework, then the Sarbanes-Oxley Act right after the Enron scandal blew up, the Dodd-Frank Act following the 2008 financial crisis. Each failure forced them to add a new, tougher layer to the corporate defense system.
So if risk is absolutely everywhere, how do companies actually go about building their defenses? Well, they use this really clever layered system designed to build a strong structure that can hopefully withstand attacks coming from any direction. Modern corporate governance uses this brilliant model called the 3 lines of defense. And honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a medieval castle security system. It's all layered, designed to stop threats at different stages before they reach the heart of the kingdom.
So the first line of defense, that's your front line. These are the soldiers on the castle walls. We're talking about the managers in every single department who are responsible for the risks tied directly to their everyday work. They own that risk.
Then, right behind them, you've got the second line, the experts. These are specialized teams, think risk management, compliance, who act like the castle's strategists. They're not on the front lines fighting, but they are overseeing the entire battlefield, setting the rules of engagement and giving guidance to the troops.
And finally, you have the third line, internal audit. Think of them as the king's most trusted advisors. They are completely independent of the whole chain of command. Their one and only job is to provide an objective, unbiased check to make sure the first 2 lines are actually working the way they're supposed to. They are the ultimate backstop.
Okay, so with that powerful defensive structure in place, the organization can finally start to run its playbook. And the whole thing kicks off with one absolutely crucial decision that has to be made at the very, very top.
The starting point for the entire playbook is defining the company's risk appetite. This is the fundamental question the board of directors has to answer. How much risk are we willing to take on to get what we want? Are we going to be cautious and conservative, or are we going to be an aggressive risk taker?
So once that appetite is set, the teams on the ground start following this continuous 4-step loop. First, they identify and classify every potential risk they can think of. Second, they assess just how bad each one could be. Third, they figure out a response and put it into action. And fourth, they constantly monitor everything. Because, the world of risk is always changing.
But wait, that brings up a huge question. A big company can be facing hundreds, maybe even thousands, of potential risks at any given time. So how on earth do you prioritize? How do you decide what to tackle first? Well, this is where a really simple but incredibly powerful tool comes into play.
They use something called a risk matrix. You can think of it like a battle map for corporate threats. It plots every single risk they've identified based on 2 really simple factors. How likely is this thing to happen? And if it does, how much damage is it going to cause?
And this map just brilliantly shows you exactly where to focus your energy. Anything that lands in that top right corner, high impact and high probability, that's a critical threat. Those are the key risks that demand your immediate attention, your resources, your best people. They are the dragons that absolutely must be slain.
So, we've walked through the history, the defensive structure, and the playbook. But, okay, beyond just being some corporate box-ticking exercise, why does any of this actually matter in the real world?
Well, because a company with a really well-run risk management system is doing so much more than just preventing disasters. It ends up making smarter strategic decisions. It creates a lot more transparency for investors, and it strengthens the entire organization from the inside out. At the end of the day, it's what ensures a company can actually survive the inevitable shocks and build real long-term success.
You know, the ultimate takeaway here is that effective risk management completely changes a company's relationship with danger. It transforms risk from this big, scary threat to be feared into just a manageable uncertainty, something that can be navigated, planned for, and sometimes even turned into an opportunity.
And all of this leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. This playbook we've been talking about, it was built to handle the disasters of the past. But as the world gets faster, more complex, with totally new kinds of risks popping up, things like AI, climate change, global instability, the real question is, how will this corporate playbook have to change to dodge the disasters of tomorrow?